Hello everyone, and made it look like I was jumping at the screen then.
You did.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. Today we are watching the Golden Age of Ancient Egypt, New Kingdom, Ancient Civilizations documentary by Kings and Generals. Please go and check out the original video and give your support to them. They deserve it. They make amazing videos, in my opinion. I always watch them, especially when I'm at work and I've got nothing else to do while I'm still waiting around. This one's about ancient Egypt. We both like ancient Egypt.
So does Ace, apparently.
So does Ace, apparently, yeah. Ancient Egypt has a special place in our heart. The early days of this channel was basically made on the ancient Egyptian history. So yeah, we're gonna watch the video now. So
Yay!
please go and watch the original, and yeah. Thank you, Ace.
In Egyptian mythology, it is said that the sun god Ra, in his beetle form of Khepri, rises each morning from dawn in an eternal journey of dutiful devotion to life. In his journeys over his eternal homeland of Egypt, he saw the land pass from dynasty to dynasty in an endless cycle since time immemorial. One day, as he rose, weary from his fight with the serpent Apophis, he saw the Hyksos, Egypt's foreign rulers, driven out from the land of the Nile. This was the beginning of Egypt's new kingdom, a period of unprecedented political expansion and social change. It was here that many of Egypt's most famous pharaohs reigned, and when Egypt became an imperial power, it was here that art...
So, I don't know if you knew this, but the pyramids, so think of Cleopatra.
Yeah.
How long ago that was?
Very.
Well, the pyramids, so that distance of time from us to Cleopatra is exact time, is round about that time distance from Cleopatra to when the pyramids were built.
That's insane.
That's how old the pyramids are.
They're very old
Well,
then.
believed to be.
That's insane.
That is insane. That's what, 4,000, nearly 5,000 years?
Some old bricks.
Okay.
They're bricks of sand.
They are very old, I'll give you that.
What else do we say?
Poetry, science and literature
You don't
flourished
think
in
it's
the...
insane how old that is?
I mean, they're old. They're just bricks of sand, though. I mean, they're not, like, extraordinary. Just a brick of sand.
Okay.
There's a lot of, like,
fertile
old
land the
history
natives
through, like,
called
the
Kemet,
world.
or Black Land.
You guys
It
got
was
a bunch
also
of
here
Stonehenge,
that
and you
Ra's
like,
disc...
break it up all under rocks, and it's like, it's a bunch of rocks. Okay. Cool.
Aten would supplant him, if only for a moment, in the
Typical.
eternal cycle of day and night. Welcome to our video on Egypt's new kingdom and its history, politics, culture, economy and religion. And once you understand ancient Egypt, rule it with the
Once you know ancient Egypt, roll it. That's a heck of an ass.
all-round improvements.
Is that a game you want to play?
Eh.
Definitely. It's you.
Before we dive into the golden age of the new kingdom of Egypt, let us first cover how it came to power. The new kingdom of Egypt usually refers to the rulers from the 18th to the 20th dynasty of Egypt,
Oh my God.
who climbed to prominence in a particularly turbulent geopolitical environment. The preceding period to the new kingdom is known as the Second Intermediate Period, which was as chaotic as the breath of Apophis. Lower Egypt, in the north of the country, was
Apophis is the snake demon of ancient Egypt.
ruled by a dynasty of foreigners called the Hekau-Khasut, or the Hyksos. In the south, the Kingdom of Kush ruled what is today Sudan, while to the west, in the lands of the god Set, various tribes and statelets of the ancestors of the Amazigh or Berber peoples ruled over Libya. Intermediate dynasties ruled by native Egyptians were mostly concentrated around the city of Weset, known as Thebes to the Greeks and Luxor to modern Egyptians. From this city, the last rulers of the 17th dynasty served as vassals of the Hyksos, sometimes obediently and at other times rebelling against Hyksos rule. It was from here that a brother of the last 17th dynastic pharaoh founded the 18th dynasty and led one final revolution against the foreign Hyksos overlords. His name was Ahmose I. We do not know the details of this revolt, but we know that he succeeded, and the new Kingdom of Egypt was born through his victory. After Ahmose I came Amenhotep I, who continued a state-heavy economic policy of development and campaigned against Nubia. This resulted in the new kingdom annexing much of Sudan, wealthy lands whose bountiful resources enabled royal developments and grand artistic patronage, while skyrocketing the political power of the victorious pharaohs. This expansionist policy was a staple of the new kingdom's rulers and their politics. Amenhotep's successor was Thutmose I, who reigned for 12 years. As soon as he ascended to power...
Yeah, that is relatively a long time for back then, but there's also a Egyptian king who ruled for 70 years.
Yeah, I'm saying that in general, that's a long time for them, though. 12 years?
Is it 70 years or 50 years? I don't know.
He crushed a rebellion in Nubia, then fought in major campaigns in Syria and Palestine, and followed up by putting down yet another rebellion in Nubia once again.
Very ruthless man, isn't he?
I mean, he brought his people to a golden age.
I guess he has.
His campaigns enabled Egyptian control over the Near East and its trade routes, allowing the new kingdom to build links with Assyria and the Hittites. His successor, Thutmose II, faced the standard Nubian revolts, but we are unsure about much else of his life. After Thutmose II came Thutmose III, who was a child at the time. Due to this, the king's sister wife, Hatshepsut, ruled in his stead, later assuming pharaonic...
They really like to pass the name now, don't they?
Yeah. Hatshepsut is one of my favourite figures in history.
Really?
You'll learn why.
Okay.
Regalia and calling herself king. Her reign saw Egypt develop links with the land of Punt, thought to be modern-day Eritrea and Djibouti, through a highly planned expedition.
You laugh at the name again? So you heard that name before and you started laughing.
It was how the guy said it that was funny.
Djibouti.
No, it's how he said it, though. I don't remember how he said it, but it was how he said it in the video that just made me laugh. It was just funny how he said it. Have weird humor, leave me be.
Okay.
You know I laugh at weird things.
You do. Just remember,
Okay.
I do love you.
I love you too.
Which brought frankincense and many other exotic goods back to the shores of the Nile. Hatshepsut was also an avid patron of art and architecture, and sponsored construction projects all over Egypt during her reign.
She's so cool.
Unfortunately, after her reign, the patriarchal system of ancient Egypt saw her erased from the historical record by subsequent rulers. As such, her name was scratched from all monuments where she was present. Yep. When Thutmose III...
Which is very sad because Hatshepsut built a lot of cool stuff, like the Karnak Temple.
They're still discovering things she's built.
Yeah, like...
Aren't they?
It's very sad that she was erased from history. Like, I genuinely think she's cool. Like, really, genuinely, really cool. You okay?
Yeah, my headband's falling off again.
Third came of age and took Hatshepsut's place. He initiated many military campaigns, such as the Battle of Megiddo, which paved the way for his conquest of Syria. Rule in the north seems to have come through a governor of north countries, erecting pillars as north as Lebanon. The next two pharaohs, Amenhotep II and Thutmose IV, continued their predecessors' tradition of construction and military campaigns. However, their successor, Amenhotep III, left larger ripples in the historical record. Amenhotep III was a powerful figure of the 18th dynasty, attested to in the Amarna Letters, a collection of diplomatic correspondence between Egypt and Near Eastern states found.
How did people communicate back then? Like when they knew different languages, it's not like they got Google Translate.
Or translators.
Or translators, yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I hope one day that's solved, or we already know the answer to it.
Imagine we won't know the answer to it, though.
Why not?
Because how would we know? You need to be alive to know the answer to that.
Yeah, fair one.
Found in the city of
Amarna,
Amarna,
there's more enough to write
not as
history
a
books or like translation books, because no one did traveling that much. You think about it in that time.
I think one of the most famous travel books was Marco Polo's, wasn't it?
someone's. I mean, there's a lot of adventure books, but no one talked about like how they spoke to people though. It's a good question actually. Very good food for your thought on that one.
Thank you.
Mighty conqueror,
I'm not all looks.
as his predecessors had been, but as a shrewd and genteel diplomat. He and his powerful wife, Ti, ruled in relative peace. However, their reign was not without its court of blood spilled, for it presided over the occasional military expedition into a by now Egyptianized northern Nubia. These expeditions usually resulted in the infliction of brutal punishments upon the locals, which often included widespread deportations. Despite this, Amenhotep III's reign was ultimately one defined by peace and stability. The Amarna letters mention good trade relations with the Mitanni in Asia Minor, and many scholars postulate that during this time, the new kingdom even maintained regular trade with faraway Armenia. Triumphs of architecture, such as monastic complex construction, boomed during Amenhotep III's reign, and trade continued to flourish, despite the attempts of marine freebooters such as the dastardly Lycian pirates of Cyprus to disrupt it. Amenhotep III also presided over an era of unprecedented religious patronage, especially of deities like Amun. Most important of all,
Big fan of the statues and the hieroglyphics.
I have one question though.
What?
How the heck did they not get sunburned back then with no shirts on?
That's a good one.
Seriously, like they're showing me they're all shirtless. Like you'd think they'd be wearing long sleeves to keep themselves from being burned. I get that they're from there, so they would build a tolerance, but no one can stand the sun that long.
No.
See, it's a good question actually.
was his construction projects at Thebes, which became a city full of monuments and royal residences, and a major cultural hub.
I don't think you're supposed to be named.
There is no set sort of academic background that we look for.
The next king, Amenhotep IV, known to us as Akhenaten,
the heretic
ushered
king.
many major changes. Akhenaten is often portrayed as a pioneer of monotheism, for he elevated the entity known as the sun disk of Ra, or Aten, as the ultimate patron deity of Egypt. However, textual evidence suggests that deities like Horus, Ra, and Thoth continued to be worshipped, making Amenhotep IV not a monotheistic ruler, but a monolatric one, worshipping one deity while accepting others. Amenhotep IV's visions of religious reform centered on the building of a new city called Akhenaten or Amarna, which he dedicated to his patron god Aten. Amarna was a splendorous citadel replete with imagery of various motifs such as feasts, war, or even mourning, which all served to emphasize the pharaoh and his grandeur. Akhenaten erased his old name and that of his father from inscriptions, as Amenhotep means Amun is pleased, and was the name of the disfavored deity, and targeted a few deities he deemed unfavorable to him, like the by now popular Amun and his wife Mut. This occurred most likely as a means of curtailing the powerful Amun priest bureaucracy, but other scholars consider genuine religious conviction to be the driving factor. His wife Nefertiti also patronized multiple temples, like a sun temple in Tel El Amarna, full of beautiful gardens. Afterwards, a short reign by the mysterious Smenkhare occurred, but we know very little about their true identity. In the north, raids attacked the northern provinces, and by the time of Akhenaten's possible son, Tutankhaten, later to be named Tutankhamun when the cult of Amun was restored, Egypt began to lose its northern territories. Tutankhamun seems to have reversed his father's reforms.
So what people wouldn't know, but I learned from a documentary, is that Tutankhamun changed his name to favour the cult of Amun. So he had a lot more favour from the clergy, because his father ruined his father ruined the image of the royal family to the clergy. They saw him as a heretic. So Tutankhamun came along and went, yeah, I'm going to change this. He immediately was loved by the clergy and thereby the people.
I mean, you had love of people back then to kill you.
Yeah, because the priesthood were raging when Akhenaten did that.
Possibly under the tutelage of pro-Amun courtly and priestly factions, but died at 19 years old and was buried in a...
I've seen his casket. I think it's his casket. Anyway, they did a tour with it.
His tomb.
Yes.
It's not a casket, it's a tomb.
Look, his casket. That thing
Oh, okay.
with little artifacts as well.
He died at 19 though, so...
I swear I saw it when I was a kid. It was fascinating.
I don't want to see anything to do with ancient Egypt. It's all like cursed, I've heard. I think we should just left them in peace in the ground. Like, they're very religious.
Oh no, I agree with that. We should have just left it. But I saw it.
I know.
And I was a baby. Well, I shouldn't say baby. I was like 7, 6 years old.
You're still a baby.
Yeah, funny.
You're watching cartoons the other day.
Yeah, I am.
It's okay.
Cartoons aren't for babies. Have you seen half of the anime?
I don't want to. I'm traumatized from the ones you showed me.
There you go then.
Tomb not meant for him, but one that made him famous. After another short reign by a pharaoh called A, the last king of the 18th dynasty, called Harem.
When they died?
Yep, to put them in Copic jars.
And like rip their organs, put them in jars. Is that actually a thing they did?
Yes, because it believed that they needed them for the afterlife.
Oh my god.
Heb ruled and reinstated many of the previously persecuted
Imagine one of
cults
those doors.
by taking down Aten's temples. Horemheb died without children and appointed his Grand Vizier in his place. That man was Ramses I, whose reign was very short, lasting only between 1292 to 1290 BCE. His successor was Seti I, a man who reigned for 2 decades. Seti's main achievements include reasserting himself in the conflict with the ascendant Hittite Empire. He captured Kadesh and the surrounding regions, only to negotiate a peace treaty with the Hittites. On the home front, he undid much of the religious reforms implemented by Akhenaten, investing into the cults which Akhenaten had disfavored. While his eldest unnamed son was initially to take the throne after him, a younger son managed via courtly intrigue to succeed him. That man was one of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, Ramesses II, whose praenomen, Usamatre, is perhaps the origin of his Greek name, Ozymandias. Ramses II ruled from 1279 to 1213 BCE, and, like Austin Powers, had multiple named wives. Ramses is known for endless
Did he go on a shagathon?
campaigns in Syria. His first Syrian campaign
God,
took
you
place
tell him
mostly
no.
on the Phoenician
No.
coast, and was primarily an expeditionary affair, but for his second one, the Hittites were waiting for him. It was then that the Battle of Kadesh took place, one of the oldest recorded battles in human history, which we covered in a previous video. Ramses' third campaign was more successful. It began when the Hittites, who now had a sphere of influence in Syria, goaded Canaanite locals to revolt against the pharaohs. Ramesses struck back by reinvading Syria and gaining a foothold in the region. After a few more campaigns, he settled on a peace treaty with the Hittite king Mersi III, and then continued fighting in Nubia and even Libya. In terms of domestic policy, Pharaoh Ramesses lavishly invested in temples in Karnak, with beautiful sacred lakes and gardens, and held more Sed or Jubilee festivals than any other pharaoh before him. His funds were graciously donated to temples like Amun's, which received gold from the Nubian viceroy. Ramesses also set up a capital city called Pi-Ramesses in the delta, showing how the balance of power in the country was shifting. At his death in old age, he was buried in the famous Ramesseum.
Sick of all the ads like this one? Just head to adskiller.com, click on Activate Now.
Egypt's culture and society developed in many interesting ways during the New Kingdom. In terms of gender relations, women were subordinate to men, and even when they could assert themselves, they had to do so in
That's
male-coded
why that's amazing when Hatshepsut took over Egypt.
ways, such as the statues of the female king Hatshepsut
See?
having a beard. However, women in the New Kingdom enjoyed more privileges than women in other contemporary cultures. For example, they were well studied and had the right to own property, unlike Mesopotamian women. Poetry flourished during this epoch, with famous works being published, such as The Tale of Two Brothers, a story where one sibling tries to resurrect his other sibling. Deir al-Medina, a famous state-sponsored site for royal artisans, has a massive corpus of texts from aneromancy to village bucolic life to even animal fables. These fables are often accompanied with pictographs, showing delightful imagery such as mice working as bakers or smoking pipes. Love poetry, exclusively written by men, is also present, and highly sophisticated, as the papyrus
Was that the ancient version of Tom and Jerry?
Yep.
Chester Beatty shows
12
us.
years for one episode.
My heart beats rapidly when I think of my love for you. It does not allow me to act sensibly, but jumps from its place. Dedication.
Is that how some of you guys feel about me? Thank you.
To deities are present as a large corpus, such as in Karnak, where priests brag about their links to the pharaohs, and artisans praise deities, showing the temple economies were particularly flourishing during this period. Other forms of art, such as the ostraca found in Deir el-Medina, show us glimpses of everyday people's needs. For instance, a particular motif shows noble women and children in a room with musical instruments and dance playing. Whether these show us elite lifestyles, aspirations of locals, or idealized visuals is hard to say. We often have images of the protector of children, the dwarf god Bes. Ritual imagery often had themes of women's sexuality, such as the sky goddess Nut appearing in nude form, or ritual imagery showing the love goddess Hathor. This was a means of showing fertility. Religion developed extensively during this period, as we have seen from the shifts towards the Theban triad, and animal worship expanded in size, and with it, animal mummification commissions as ritual offerings in temples. Other deities like
You'll find like mummified like cats, crocodiles,
anything.
bull. Like I swear they actually found an entire tomb dedicated to Apis bull.
Probably.
Like
Do you want to go to ancient Egypt?
they're all mummified.
Osiris in Abydos were also patronized, and of course Ra maintained his primacy, eventually becoming Amun-Ra. Religious texts developed over centuries were completed in this period, such as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, or the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Aten experiment undergone by Akhenaten is interesting in and of itself, with hymns like that of Akhenaten's Hymn to the Aten, showing us a bold new way of pharaohs interacting with the divine. Thou appearest beautifully on the horizon of heaven, thou living Aton, the beginning of life. When thou art risen on the eastern horizon, thou hast filled every land with thy beauty. Thou art gracious, great, glistening, and high over every land. Thy rays encompass the lands to the limit of all that thou hast made. As thou art Re, thou reachest to the end of them. Thou subduest them for thy beloved Son. Though thou art far away, thy rays are on earth. Though thou art in their faces, no one knows thy going. All of this cultural development, from art to poetry, was built on scribal bureaucracies, managing wealth from abroad in Libya, Nubia, and Palestine. Let us examine Egyptian colonialism in Nubia to see how this unfolded. Paintings from burial sites help us understand how local elites, who were hostages in Egypt, experienced this process. Inscriptions of processions, both presented in painting and described in writing, depicted the very...
I love like the ancient paintings that actually exist today.
Oh, like how they've still remained after all these years.
Like I love that they did it.
What they can tell us what life was like.
Yeah, I think it's smart.
Stylized imagery of the Nubians in processions. Further correlations in the archaeology are seen in the presence of Shabtis and other Egyptian customs in the tombs of the urban Nubian elites. We can also find specific Nubian customs, such as oxen findings. This intriguing case suggests a sort of cultural entanglement of the Egyptian and Nubian customs, with the elites being neither fully Egyptian nor fully Nubian. These relations are often forgotten, even in Egyptology itself, due to a large bias towards Egyptian scribal perspectives, themselves prone to...
Yeah, a lot of Egyptologists refuse to understand that Nubians also practiced the same religion as ancient Egyptians.
Yeah, they took it out.
Like in a lot of ways, when the Egyptians were taken over by Rome, the Nubians continued to worship the gods.
Yeah.
So...
to politics and elite contempt for their subjects.
Itsy, I love you. The mattress cover has changed my life, and here is why. I adjust my...
The peak of the Egyptian Empire under Ramesses II was not to last. The inaugurator of the 20th dynasty, Setnakht, only reigned for 3 years, from 1186 to 1183 BCE. His successor, Ramesses III, was the last great pharaoh of this kingdom. Famines and troubles in Syria led to instability during his reign, something that a certain group of pirates called the Sea Peoples sought to exploit. To the west, in the land of Set, the Libyans
They
were
don't even know who the Sea People are still.
Where they're from?
They don't know anything about them. They just appeared, destroyed loads of kingdoms, then disappeared.
So they don't know where they're from?
No,
Okay.
they know nothing about them. They just literally appeared from the sea.
So they call them sea people?
Yeah, because they're
also
arrived in
ready
time.
to
A lot
exert
of
their
them
influence on
think,
Egypt.
Like, because they're all religious, that they're like a god punching them.
Yeah, as well, yeah.
Because I think that they're all religious.
Jointly, the two groups began to conduct raids, a reign of terror Ramesses III was indignant about. As such, his tenure was filled with warfare, with papyri mentioning his victory and the settlement of the now subject Sea Peoples in southern Canaan. This was to begin Egypt's economic troubles. In an event that would make Pyotr Kropotkin and Karl Marx smile, it was he who faced the first recorded labor strike in history in Deir el-Medina in 1128 BCE. This was due to delays in wages and rations, making the artisans indignant. As such, they began a strike and managed to negotiate the rations distribution. This story teaches us that class struggle is a universal pattern in history, even in Egypt under the pharaohs. Ramesses III also faced a plot brewing among the women of his wife's harem, which succeeded in killing him, but failed in putting the favoured son, Pentaweret, on the throne. Ramesses IV, who succeeded in the end, was a relatively successful, if mediocre, king. Ramesses V ruled only for 3 years, and afterwards Ramesses VI, VII, and VIII ruled in obscure but difficult circumstances. By the time of Ramesses IX, Thebes was far less powerful than before, and a schism between the priests of Amun and the royal throne was to create significant domestic instability, while the provinces on the periphery of the empire were growing ever more free. We know next to nothing of Ramesses X, and the last pharaoh of this dynasty, Ramesses XI, is only known through a sparse handful of inscriptions. He was the last pharaoh before the 21st dynasty. Thus, the New Kingdom had ended, and the start of the third intermediate period began.
That was a time of trouble.
Yeah.
Not with a bang, but with a whimper. And thus, the sun set in the west, and Ra, alongside Aten, began his trip through the underworld. Ra would dutifully rise for more journeys across the sky, and would see his former domain become increasingly different, while Aten would reminisce about the day he was king. The land of Kemet would see new rulers, many local and later foreign, but all would rule in the shadow of the state forged in the New Kingdom, which reunified the country. The temples of the Egyptian gods would gain new divine neighbors as polytheist, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hermetic, and Gnostic faithful
Say again?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
their shrines, all in the shadow of statues of Ramesses and using Egyptian writings. The New Kingdom was gone, but the god Ra would never weep, for Egypt would remain Egypt, its great civilization as seminal as Greece, India, China, and Persia's.
I mean, if you think about it, because the pyramids still stand, the ancient Egyptians won.
Yeah.
Like, they've won. Like, you haven't got rid of them. You can't get
Plus,
rid of them.
also, we have all the history on them through their scriptures and stuff.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have anything unless they left things behind.
No, so in reality, in my opinion, they've won the game of life, basically.
Are they still finding things?
Yeah, they say that most of the sands of Egypt still have stuff underneath them. It's just now a race to get it.
Isn't it like we only discovered like 5% of actual ancient Egypt?
Hmm?
Like only 5%?
Yeah, but now it's a race to find the rest before it's lost forever.
We're probably not going to find most of it.
We may see this period as alien to us, and many will, in an Orientalist fashion, deny continuity between the Egyptians of then and now. But the New Kingdom's endless wealth and its great innovations in literature, religion, and science set the stage for later Egyptian history, as constant as Ra's journey of night and day. More videos on ancient history are on the way. To ensure you don't miss them, make sure you are subscribed and press the bell button. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Recently, we have started releasing weekly Patreon and YouTube member exclusive content. Consider joining their ranks via the link in the description or button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.
Well, thank you for watching, everyone. That was Kings and Generals Golden Age of Ancient Egypt. What do you think?
Very good video.
I enjoyed it.
Very informative.
Very informative as well, wasn't it?
I know why you watch his videos then.
Oh, I love their videos. I openly love their videos. Well, guys, thank you for watching. That was the video. We hope you enjoy. Please go and watch the original before you watch ours. And, well, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only